Greetings, foolish mortals, and welcome back to another installment of My Chemical Makeup, the series where I'm doing a look for every My Chemical Romance song ever. Last episode, I made myself a nervous wreck while trying to paint spider lilies on my face for romance, and today, I'll be tackling track 2. Honey, this mirror isn't big enough for the two of us. And here is my concept sketch. I know it looks kinda simple and plain, but just know it's gonna look way cooler IRL. There's only so much I can do to emulate what I want to go for digitally. And this is gonna be the first time I've attempted SFX bruise makeup since 2020, which I am very excited about. Now without further ado, let's get to it. For this look, I'm doing things a tad differently from my usual process. Normally, I don't show this part of the process, the whole prepping my face thing, in order to save time, but it's important for this look. While prepping my face, I only glued down one of my eyebrows instead of both, specifically my left eyebrow. If you want to know my process for this, I recommend checking out this YouTube video. I found it like 7 years ago when I first started doing makeup for my cosplays, and I've been using this technique ever since. Alright, now to get started for real. I did my contour around my face first. I tried to hollow out my cheeks a little bit, but not too much. The goal is to look unhealthy, but not dead. Now I'm going to use my foundation on my right eye in place of my usual eye primer. Reason being is because I'm going to give myself a black eye here, and I felt using a color-based eye primer, which is normally used to make colors pop, would make it look less realistic. After setting my eye with setting powder, we must prepare the necessary tool. Grab a foam wedge makeup sponge like this one and start picking apart the flat end until it starts to resemble Swiss cheese. We don't want any hard or sharp edges, so remember to pick off the corners too. I did this to 2 sponges, and I recommend you do the same as well. You'll find out why later. And now we can start on our bruises. Normally you'd use something called a bruise wheel, which is cream-based or grease paint in these dark and dingy colors that when used in tandem can help you make some pretty realistic fake injuries. However, these suckers are expensive, therefore I don't have one. But what I do have are 3 eyeshadow colors that are exact color matches, well, 2 out of 3 anyway, to the Hexbabybeauty bruise wheel, and that I can work with. So our lovely assistants today shall be the Nubian Glow palette, the Violets palette, and the Berries palette, all from Juvia's place. That's right, they're back again! So first we're gonna take one of our Swiss cheese sponges and both swirl and tap it into this yellow shade in the bottom left corner of the Nubian Glow palette. Next, I'm going to add it all over and around my right eye. I also went a little bit above my eyebrow. Next, break out the Violets palette and get some of that deep dark purple from the top right corner onto your second unused sponge and pack that directly on top of the yellow right on your eye. This is going to be our impact spot. Now to further the black part of the eye, I took some more of the purple on a regular eyeshadow applicator and put it all over my eyelid and all the way around my under eye. Since I didn't use my usual primer, I did have to pack on the eyeshadow a lot more to get it to show up, so keep that in mind. I then took a soft rounded brush and dappled out the edges to blend it into the yellow a little bit. Make the transition look less fake, you know? Next, grab the Berries palette and use that same sponge you used for the purple and take some of this dark mulberry pink in the top left corner. You're going to put that directly on top of the purple, but don't go too heavy with it. Finally, add a little bit more yellow on top to diffuse any hard edges. I also did it with a regular makeup brush for good measure. And there you have it, a realistic looking fake black eye. Credit to Imaginary Monsters 5419 for their bruise tutorial, which is what I used for this. I'll also be linking their tutorial in the description if you want to know how to use the actual bruise wheel. And now we repeat almost the exact same process for the cheek bruise. Although I did have to diffuse it quite a bit because I didn't mean for it to be as intense as the black eye. Speaking of which, now we can move on to my left eye. I returned to my usual routine by priming my eye with my old reliable Beauty Creations color-based eye primer in Whiteout. I put it all over my eyelid, going all the way up my brow bone and halfway over my eyebrow. I also put it all the way around my under eye, but don't be too heavy-handed with it. For our colors, I first brought out the Berries palette again and used the somewhat dusty rose pink shade in the center of the top row and put it all across my brow bone, including where I primed my eyebrow. The color was a smidge too saturated for what I was going for, and I didn't have a lighter or more muted shade, so I added some white over top of it and mixed it in to make the color chill out a little bit. Next, I took a maroon shadow and added it right next to the pink, right above and in my eye socket. This is going to act as our transition shade. Now before we add on our last color, take the blending brush and blend where the two colors meet on your eye and then smoke out the edges of the pink on your brow. I ended up having to use a combination of brush blending and finger blending because the area where the pink and maroon meet was being a little stubborn. For our final color, take some black eyeshadow and put it onto your eyelid. And be careful not to let the black overtake the maroon like I did. I had to reapply the maroon because of that. Whoopsie! After that, I did my best to blend the heck out of it. I also added the black around my under eye, then did my best to smoke and smudge that out as well. The goal is for it to look like messy and smudged eyeliner without it actually being eyeliner. Cause as you guys know, due to my sensory issues, I don't tightline my waterline. It is never gonna happen. I went a little too ham on the black down there, so I had to blend it in with some eyeshadow in the same color as my foundation to get the look I was going for. Don't be like me, guys. Use a small brush instead of an applicator, and don't be too heavy-handed with it. With my eyeshadow done, I took a small detail brush and some light brown eyeshadow to sketch on a new eyebrow for my left eye. We're going for a very thin arched brow since my inspiration for this half of the look is 90s grunge makeup. And now we move on to eyeliner. First, we'll be using Hexbabybeauty's Lucid Split Liner Selenite and Salem. I used a detail liner brush and the black half of the liner to slowly trace my sketch line and draw on my new eyebrow, which required quite a bit of precision because it was so thin. I then lined my eyes all the way around with the black, but I didn't bother doing a wing. Then I contoured the left side of my nose, but only the left side of my nose. And now comes the fun part, / hard part, the broken mirror bits. I took some more of my brown eyeshadow and sketched around my black eye and the cheek bruise and started to draw out cracks as well as pieces that I wanted to be actual colored mirror bits. I also deviated from my concept sketch a little bit and drew out a line down the center of my mouth to split my lips. Alright, to start painting it, I first got out my metallic silver eyeliner from WHYYYYY Cosmetics and painted the liner onto the bits I want to actually look like the shards of a broken mirror. This stuff goes on pretty sheer, so I had to apply a good 2 coats before it got fully opaque. I've had this eyeliner for several years now, and I've actually had it for so long that apparently WHYYYYY has gone out of business, which I am very torn up about, so I'm going to be very sad when I finally run out of this eyeliner. Once that dries down, you're gonna take the most metallic silver eyeshadow you own, not shimmer, not glitter, metallic, and use a small round packing brush to pack it directly on top of all of those areas you painted silver for maximum reflectiveness. Okay, just for funsies, I thought it'd be cool to demonstrate that there actually is a difference in whether or not you use the eye primer or the eyeliner as a base for the metallic silver eyeshadow. So I have one swatch of the eyeliner and one swatch of the primer on my wrist. So we're gonna put them on top each one. And we're gonna see the difference. It's subtle, but it's subtle on camera, most likely, but it's very noticeable IRL. Just gonna pack that on to the color-based eye primer. She's still pretty shiny. She's pretty shiny, yeah. But then we add it on top of the silver eyeliner. Okay, I'm sorry guys, I had to switch to vertical mode because this is the only way that I can catch the difference on camera on my arm. I'm able to catch it on my face, but not on my arm unless I do this for some reason. But anyway, this is under the direct light of my desk lamp, which is a very harsh, very bright light. And if I move my wrist, you can see a very noticeable difference. The bottom swatch, where I use the silver eyeliner as a base, is much more reflective than the top swatch where I used the color-based eye primer as a base. The matte white eye primer dulls the shimmeriness of the eyeshadow ever so slightly in the process of attaching to it so it stays on your eye. Once I was happy with the coverage, I got my black eyeliner back out and started to slowly trace over my sketch lines with my detail brush, which is gonna take a hot minute. So, while we're here, let's talk about my inspiration for this look. So this song is about drug and alcohol addiction, but according to Gerard in a 2002 radio interview, he wrote the song for his brother Mikey, and it's about Mikey's ex. But of course, both the Way brothers had drug and alcohol addiction around this time and were struggling with it pretty hard. And it made me think about how drug and alcohol addiction are similar to being in a toxic relationship, in how it negatively affects you in physical, mental, and emotional ways, but also your relationships with the people around you, even if you try to pretend everything is fine or that you can handle it. Hence why the pieces of the mirror that broke and fell out reveal a bruised and battered person underneath a full face of makeup, with cracks in the facade starting to spread out. Now you could take the bruises literally as the physical abuse that goes on in toxic relationships sometimes, but I chose to use bruises as a physical representation, albeit a bit of an exaggeration, for how if you abuse alcohol and drugs long enough, it starts to affect your physical appearance just as much as it affects your health. And to finish off the look, I'm bringing out my Sleepwalker Liquid Lipstick from Black Moon Cosmetics, which I will only be applying to the left half of my lips. And great news, guys! I got it right on the first try! Woohoo! No fixing or redoing it off camera! Okay, I lied. One last finishing touch. I felt the look needed a little something extra, so I decided to draw on my neck what I called a squiggly choker, but found out later that it's actually called a jelly choker. I never knew that's what it was actually called. I just knew it was what a lot of the girls wore when I was in middle school and high school. And now for the final reveal. And cue the glamour shots. I love how that black eye came out. I am so proud of it. Definitely an improvement from the first time I did it 5 years ago. My god, I can't believe it's been that long already. And I love the other side too. I think I accidentally emulated Nancy Downs from The Craft and I am totally not complaining. And with that, another look bites the dust. I hope you guys enjoyed this one just as much as I did. On a more serious note, if you're struggling with drug or alcohol addiction, please know that you're not less of a person for struggling with these things, and you're not alone. Please seek help and talk to someone you trust. There are people out there that can and want to help you. I know this may come off as cheesy or preachy of me to say, considering I've never struggled with either of those things, but I felt like it would be incredibly tone-deaf and straight-up disingenuous of me to create art based off a song that deals with these very real issues that a lot of people face and just end the video normally. And if you've been thinking about or looking for a sign that you should get clean and sober, this is it. Please take this video as a sign that you should absolutely do it. Your future self will thank you for it. You can and will get better, and Gerard and Mikey are living proof of that. And if you're currently in recovery / getting clean or sober, congratulations, I am so proud of you, and I hope sobriety is treating you well. You got this. And with all that being said, may death never stop you, and I hope to see you all again next time.